Hey guys, I am Ibigandscary. I'm bringing you another StarCraft 2 replay, this time featuring in our top right corner FXOTheoRy, our red Protoss, and in the bottom left our blue Protoss is Maharishi. Both players are in Masters. We are on Daybreak, which is a very well-known and popular map, partially because there's only two ways to really get to your opponent, both of which are through the thirds of the opponent. And then you also have these kind of supplemental pathway, a fourth way, that you can get in through that destructible debris. Protoss doesn't have to worry too much about that because of the death ball, but in reality, you've only got two pathways. So if you're going to the south and your opponent's going through the north, you can wind up in a base trade very, very quickly, but only if you you wind up in a base trade scenario where you reach that end deadlock where you have two massive death balls and you really are concerned about what the opponent's doing. Early on in the matchup with the 1 minute mark, you really don't have to be too concerned. Some nice pylon placement from FXOTheoRy. I like that, where you have the pylon placed back here at the choke to prevent kind of a run by with the blink stalkers. The stalkers get behind here and they have to expend a blink a little bit early to avoid getting trapped with that pylon in this area. The zealots having free range with them before they can kind of loop down and then blink down to the low ground. Often you'll see a warp prism drop off units here and then they'll swing up and they have to expend an early blink, and then by the time they actually get to the safe area, which is around here where they can blink down to the natural, do some more damage, it's already too late for them. They've already expended that blink and they have to worry about how are they going to deal with that added aggression. Both players are going for kind of a late aggression sort of build. They're getting that first gas up, totally standard from both players really. Get that gas with the gateway. You're going to see a cybernetics core in just a couple of seconds because that's what Protoss is. They do that. They get gateways, they get cybernetics cores, they get pylons, and there's not a lot of shenanigans early on unless it's super obvious. You might see a pylon being placed down here and the forge back at the main gate, and we see a cannon rush, which I honestly haven't seen a cannon rush in months, absolutely months. Because it's not very successful against Protoss. Protoss has a very easy time at dealing with that unless they go 100% all in. And even then, even if you're doing a terrible job dealing with it, you still don't have to worry too much about that as long as your scouting is good enough. I was looking for Maharishi's. He did get vision of that. I was worried that he wasn't going to poke in far enough to actually see if there was a pylon behind the mineral lines and see these two hidden structures. If you don't see those structures when you pop up, you're going to naturally assume that there's some sort of two-gate pressure back at home, and that can ruin your time. Especially if you're going for this sort of more economically sound build. Both players have grabbed two gas right off the bat. Maharishi's positioning for the probe is actually top drawer. He's not too concerned about anything that's coming out of the gateway right now because that zealot was started a little bit before the cybernetics core is finished. So yeah, it's a zealot, and zealots have a hard time chasing down these probes because they're so very fast. And even if the zealot does catch up, it only catches up long enough to do a little bit of damage. With that first zealot on the field, though, and some probes pulled, it looks like that Maharishi is going to have a hard time trying to scout that this Stargate is going up in the corner. Oh, some fantastic control there from FXO trying to pull his probes off to deny that late scout from Maharishi, but it appears, and I'm going to double check. No, he did not! Oh, fantastic! So Maharishi had a probe in the base, but he went the wrong way around to see if he could scout that Stargate going up. But on the other side of things, Maharishi already has his own Stargate started. He's going to have anti-air in the form of a Stargate and maybe some Phoenixes. Probably not a Void Ray because Void Rays in this matchup are relatively short-lived. Phoenix is much better being a kind of a harassment unit, and harassment is pretty few and far between from both players. This Stalker already out on the field for Maharishi, already going to be denying the scout a single sentry. You got to be very careful because you don't want to kind of, even if you succeeded in sneaking your forces past, you don't want to get them caught on the high ground. And with that well-placed force field, you can definitely cut these units in half. And with the Phoenix being exposed, it appears that Maharishi's going to know that that Stargate's on the field, and yeah, that Zealot's going to go down, and the Stalker's going to have to withdraw from Maharishi. But more importantly, this Scout has definitely saved Maharishi the embarrassment of dying from 3 or 4 Phoenixes completely unscouted showing up in the middle of his base. He's also going to know that he needs to chrono boost out these Phoenixes and have another Stargate on the way. This is absolutely fantastic. Also getting that first Nexus up because you've got to know that, yeah, Phoenixes are annoying, but they can't kill buildings and they can't do much to deny an expansion. I actually just casted a game where both Protoss went air in relatively short order, and it turned out incredibly epic, and I'm hoping that this is going to turn out just as epic. But it looks like the Maharishi has taken and I'd like to say the Maharishi because he sounds like a sultan or something like that. The Maharishi is coming. We must prepare our elephants. It's fantastic. You also need to prepare your photon cannons because these two phoenixes are going to have absolute free range of any units that stray far from the pack. FXOTheory's not in a bad way. He's got his own 3 phoenixes out, but there's 4 for Maharishi, and Maharishi's also taken an expansion significantly faster than the one that FXOTheory has. His is actually going to be finishing in relatively short order. And you can check out the production tab to see exactly what timing difference we're going to be dealing with whenever you're talking about the 2 Nexuses finished. That natural is going to be finishing well ahead of the one from FXOTheory. Those phoenixes are overextending themselves just a little bit. It looks like one's going to go down, two's going to go down. Oh man, all 4 from Maharishi have fallen. FXOTheory only losing 1, but also losing a handful of probes. 27 to 31. His economy's definitely behind, specifically in the gas. He's got 2 harvesters in one, 3 in the other, but we can see that 2 more Vespene geysers have been tapped by Maharishi, and he's beginning to harvest them. He's got 3 more coming down, another 2 to fully saturate all the assimilators, and these phoenixes are going to have to be pushing out and going to have to be doing quite a lot of damage down here where there's not a very strong presence. Yes, those phoenixes will be able to reinforce very quickly, but with only a single stalker out on the field, how much help can they possibly expect from the ground? FXOTheory shine away just a little bit. He's got another Stargate on the way, so he'll be able to reinforce his phoenixes faster that way. But right now, it's very much a neck-and-neck battle. We can see that there is just a little bit of extra gas saved up for Maharishi, or no, for FXOTheory, but that's because he doesn't have that extra Stargate. He needs to catch up in that regard. I wouldn't be surprised if I see a +1 weapons going down if both players decide to continue with this aggression. We can see 5 phoenixes pushing in. There's absolutely nothing to protect this natural, and we're going to see more than a handful of these harvesters go down. In fact, the harvester count, which was in the lead for Maharishi just a couple of seconds ago, is now plummeted to favor FXOTheory. FXO, though, in a bad engagement, all those phoenixes from Maharishi are going to be pushing FXOTheory all the way back. Now wow, actually 5 to 3, and that Stargate has finished. It's being chrono boost out. All these phoenixes are going to be out on the field very shortly, but FXOTheory realizes that he's behind a little bit in the production of those phoenixes. Is actually getting a 3rd Stargate, but it's pure phoenixes right now. I'd really like to see a couple of warp gates out of either player to continually produce stalkers and have some sort of static air defense where, those stalkers can do quite a lot of damage against those phoenixes. We've seen that neither player has really gotten the advantage against the other in the form of harassment. They're having to shy away from both of the Phoenix bundles, and right now it's 8 to 6 in the favor of Maharishi, but he doesn't want to engage because of those stalkers on the ground, that single stalker really, and the sentry providing the +1 armor in the form of that Guardian Shield. Man, this is absolutely tense. The economy is pretty much neck and neck, 44 over 42. Gas income is neck and neck, and both players aren't really in want of minerals, especially Maharishi. He is pouring pretty much everything he has into those phoenixes, but this is a problem that we've run into before, where you need to find another way to spend all those minerals, and all those minerals could be converted into zealots, and you can do kind of a sacrificial attack, a fantastic concave for FXO. He's pushing in, dealing quite a lot of damage to all those phoenixes. There's absolutely so much going on. But really, you just got to look at the numbers. 10 phoenixes for 6 from FXOTheory, and remember, FXO, he was ahead of the mineral count, or the harvester count, just a little while ago, but 47 over 40. It looks like the Maharishi has continued to chrono boost out his probes and is also taking the 3rd, so he's going to secure his economic lead because he knows that there's not too much he needs to fear from FXOTheory. Theory is getting that +1 armor, which is definitely going to help him in later engagements, and I don't think there are any upgrades, none at all, for Maharishi. So yeah, he's got the lead in numbers, but that number's actually plummeting, 13 over 10. And remember that Theory has 3 of his Stargates going full blast, and yes, there's 3 for Maharishi, but some of those minerals are being converted into extra units, zealots and stalkers to deal with the harassment that we can see out of Theory, as well as extra probes so that he can actually deal with, saturating that expansion. 3rd also being built for Theory, and I'm going to just snap over there for a second. I'm surprised to see this kind of harassment going on from those Zealots for so long because there's so many Phoenixes from Maharishi. He can just, do this, sweep in, pick up those Zealots, and, he kind of wants to shoot them with more than one Phoenix in theory, but, end result was pretty much the same thing. Both players have secured their third at this point, but again, Maharishi has a lead in those probes, and that's going to translate to a absolutely 100% lead in the gas. I hope that's not bad manners. I don't think it is. Theory's just being a good guy. He knows that this is absolutely hilarious that we see a perfect matchup in the number of units. I mean, probes. Wow, so many Phoenixes. 20 Phoenixes to 16. The next engagement is going to be absolutely ridiculous. I'm really surprised that we don't see a fleet beacon or something because that's when it's so useful. Oh my goodness. 60 to 41 right now, but Maharishi knows that the Phoenixes are going to be coming in just a couple of seconds. We can see 3 are on the way, and 20 of 17. Maharishi is retreating because remember that +1 armor is done. Even though these numbers are pretty much favoring Maharishi, you've got to realize that the +1 armor is going to go a long way in keeping these Phoenixes alive. They've got 120 health rather than the 60 shields. They're going to be doing quite a lot of damage. Maharishi's going to be countering that with the +1 on the weapons, but how effective is that going to be with the +1 not done quite yet? You've got to be very careful with this standing army because those Phoenixes are so very fragile. Once again, pushing in, you can see the harvester count fall. They had just recovered. Wow, another huge engagement here. Those Phoenixes doing quite a number on each other. And you can see that the number, which used to favor Maharishi by about 6, has fallen significantly. And he's only ahead by about 1. Those Phoenixes absolutely paying for themselves, and that armor upgrade finishing. This engagement is going to finish just a couple of seconds before the +1, but Maharishi with his superior numbers has definitely come out on top. 9 Phoenixes remaining for the 2. I expected that +1 armor to do quite a lot more for that final engagement for Theory, but in the end it just wasn't enough for him to pull out a win. Both players floating quite a lot of money, but you really want to make sure your Phoenixes are engaging at the right angle, I guess. How do you micro Phoenixes, though? They're so incredibly fast. I would have loved to see either player throw down just a couple more gateways. It looks like another cybernetics core is going, so he can double up on those upgrades from Maharishi. So he's definitely just 100% devoting himself to the late game air. But in the end, Theory fell a little bit behind on the production. Maharishi did go for that earlier Stargate, and Theory had 1 for the longest time, where Maharishi had 2, and then Maharishi was also he's kind of greedy. He went for that earlier Nexus, he also went for the earlier 3rd, and he capitalized on that greed. It's really hard to deny an Expo whenever you only have Phoenixes. That was an amazing game. Thank you very much for posting that. I'm going to assume that Maharishi posted it because he won, but you never know. Theory, you could be a good guy. I don't know. And you guys are good guys. Thank you for watching this game. If you have a game you want me to cast, you could PM me here or on Reddit. One way or another, I will see you guys later. I am Big and Scary.